The clinking of cutlery and the soft hum of chatter filled the small downtown diner. At one corner table, a man in a crisp suit sat opposite a little girl whose golden curls framed her round face. Her tiny hands gripped a coloring book, but her big, searching eyes weren't on the crayons. They were on the smiling waitress who had just bent down to refill her glass of milk. "Can you be my mommy?" the girl blurted out, her small voice trembling with a mix of innocence and longing. The entire diner seemed to fall into silence. Plates paused midair, conversations slowed, and even the waitress froze with the jug of milk in her hand. But it wasn't the waitress who felt the shock the most. It was the man in the suit, her father, a powerful CEO who had built empires and handled boardrooms without ever flinching. Yet now, his chest tightened, his throat locked, and his entire world tilted from a single question. The waitress blinked, her kind smile faltering. She wasn't sure if she had heard right. "Sweetheart, what did you say?" she asked softly, crouching down so she could look into the child's eyes. "I asked, if you can be my mommy?" the girl repeated, her voice so innocent that it pierced through every wall in the man's heart. For a moment, the waitress's eyes flickered to the father, who sat frozen in place. He wanted to speak, to explain, but words refused to come. His daughter had lost her mother when she was just a toddler. He had shielded her, given her the best of everything's private schools, toys, vacations, and all the love he knew how to give. But no matter how hard he tried, there was one thing he could never replace: the tenderness of a mother's love. The waitress, whose name tag read Emily, swallowed hard. She had seen many families in this diner, laughing, arguing, celebrating birthdays. She had grown used to serving others, while quietly carrying her own pain. Life hadn't been kind to her either. Broken engagement, a pile of debt, and dreams she had once shelved. Yet, in that little girl's eyes, she saw something that melted every guard she had built around herself. Pure, unfiltered need. I'm just your waitress, sweetheart," Emily said gently, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "But you already have a daddy who loves you so much." The girl's lips trembled. "But he's always busy. He tries, but sometimes I just feel lonely." The man finally stirred, his chest aching as though someone had stabbed him with his own failures. "Lily." His voice cracked, and he reached for his daughter's hand. "I'm so sorry, baby." Emily's eyes softened. She had seen tired parents, but this man didn't look careless. He looked haunted though he carried the weight of the world. And yet his little girl's loneliness had slipped through the cracks of his perfect fortress. The dinner carried on awkwardly after that, though Emily noticed the man couldn't take his eyes off his daughter, as if afraid she might break if he looked away. When it was time to leave, Lily hugged Emily tightly, as if she was afraid to let go. Emily froze, then gently hugged her back, whispering, "You're such a brave little girl." That night, the CEO James sat in his penthouse apartment, staring at the city lights. He was known as a ruthless businessman, a man who made decisions worth millions without a second thought. But now, all he could think about was the way his daughter had clung to a stranger, begging for the love she craved. The next day, to his own surprise, James found himself back at the diner. He told himself it was for the food, for Lily's sake, for routine.
Ow.
But when Emily walked over with her notepad, he realized the truth. He wanted to see her again. Over the weeks, visits to the diner became frequent. Lily adored Emily, and Emily, despite her best attempts to stay professional, couldn't resist the little girl's charm. She started sitting with them when her shifts allowed, listening to Lily's stories, wiping her ice cream-stained cheeks, and laughing with her in ways that made James's heart ache with both fear and hope. But James was torn. Could he let someone into their world? I had vowed never to risk his daughter's heart again after losing her mother. Yet watching Lily light up around Emily was something he couldn't ignore. One evening, as they were leaving the diner, Lily tugged at her father's sleeve. "Daddy, can't we take Emily home with us?" she asked with the same innocent desperation as before. James knelt down, cupping her face. His eyes glistened. "Baby, things don't work that way, but I promise, I'll try to make sure you never feel lonely again." Unbeknownst to him, Emily had overheard. She stood at the doorway, her hand trembling around her apron. She had always told herself not to get attached to customers, but this was different. Something about this father and daughter had wrapped around her heart. It took months and months of hesitant conversations, accidental meetings outside the diner, and the slow realization that sometimes love finds you when you're not looking. James discovered that Emily wasn't just kind, she was resilient, selfless, and strong. And Emily discovered that behind the cold, intimidating CEO was a man who desperately wanted to be enough for his daughter. The turning point came one rainy night when Lily fell sick. James panicked. His world of business contracts and billion-dollar deals meant nothing when his daughter's forehead burned with fever. He called Emily without thinking, and she rushed over. The way she cared for Lily, singing softly, cooling her forehead, holding her through her restless sleep, James knew in that moment that she was the missing piece. The following weekend, as they sat together in the park, Lily nestled between them. James reached for Emily's hand. His voice trembled, but his eyes held steady. Emily, I don't know how to say this right, but Lily was right that night in the diner. We both need you. I need you. Will you? Be her mommy. Emily's eyes welled with tears, and before she could even answer, Lily squealed, throwing her arms around her. I knew it. I knew you were meant to be my mommy. Emily laughed through her tears, looking at James, who was holding his daughter tightly, his heart finally unburdened. Love hadn't come to them the way they expected. It didn't come with grand gestures or perfect timing. It came in the innocent question of a little girl who dared to ask for the one thing her heart longed for. And in the end, it was that small, trembling voice that built a family stronger than anything money could ever buy.